This conference will now be recorded.
So can you see, just 1 minute, I'll just get the learning outcome 2. Can you see these slides? I think this is the one we need to do. No, this is the wrong one. Learning outcome 2. Stop sharing. Just 1 minute. Share screen. Can you see these? Oh, this is learning outcome 1. Sorry, I've opened the wrong one. Learning outcome 2 should be the one that's open.
Yeah.
Can you see the slides there?
Yeah.
Stop sharing. Let me just start sharing again. It's just a bit. Learning outcome 2. You should be able to see these slides now. Can you see them as well, Andy? Yeah?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes. Okay, so just a little bit about the session and what we're going to do. Yesterday we looked at learning outcome 1, which we looked at understanding how internal communication takes place within an organization. We looked at what communication is, the different models of communication, which was mainly the business communication model. We looked at the process of communication with an organization. We also looked at the advantages and disadvantages of verbal and non-verbal communication, visual, electronic, and formal and informal communication. We looked at the conferences, also the purpose of communication, and also the difference between upward and downward communication. And the one we covered in regards to 1.3 was we analysed different barriers to communication and looked at some of the legal and ethical implications and issues relating to communication, such as things like, Data Protection Act, the Equality Act, the Freedom of Information Act. And there are slides in regards to that on Learning Outcome 1 if you want to have a look at that, and the session has been recorded, Andy. So
Yeah.
today is Learning Outcome 2, and here we need to look at understanding how organizations communicate with customers. Okay, so some of the key terminology. Sumit, are you still on as well? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. So some of the the key terminology. So we looked at what is formal communication, and in regards to formal communication, we looked at the issue of formal communication refers to the flow of official information through proper predefined channels and routes. The flow of information is controlled and needs deliberate effort to be properly communicated. Formal communication follows a hierarchical structure and a chain of command. What is social media? Social media enables you to add value to your stakeholders in a targeted way, allowing you to communicate faster, more often, with greater relevance. Satisfied customers are more likely to share their experience with others online, which will in turn help to promote your brand and bring in new customers. So, does just an example of that? Does social media help in regards to any sort of business? Does it have an impact on how a business is run? What do you think? Do you think social media has an impact on how a business is run?
Yes, of course.
What kind of impact?
If somebody is not aware of their business or products,
Yeah.
so we can show them by social media.
And does social media, does it have a big setup of people in regards to how, is it just national people or is it international, and is it
Yes.
everyone? Yeah, anyone can get access to that, and probably have a lot more people having access to that, and it works well, does social media. 2.1, you evaluate formal communication systems used by organizations to communicate with customers. So formal organizational communication is communication through predefined channels set by organizations. They're typically conveyed from top leadership to various departments that funnels down to the lower employees. It's backed by organizational procedure and is necessary to fulfill the goals of the organization. So from top leadership will be the managers down to the lower level, maybe sales assistants and things like that. Examples of formal communication generally include the following: legal texts such as contracts, property leases, real estate deeds, court-related documents, for example, divorce papers, lawsuits, civil and criminal litigation, and proceedings in general. Now we go on to internal communication. Internal communication takes place within the organization of or group, among people, with among different groups of people, employees, and between employers and employees. It could be oral, it could be written, visual or audiovisual, it could be formal or informal, and it could be upward or downward. Internal communication serves to form, instruct, educate, develop, motivate, persuade, entertain, direct, control, and caution people in the organization. When a personal letter is written at an official address, besides writing the name of the addressee, the envelope is prescribed as private or confidential to convey the nature of the communication. So you've got a board of directors, downwards to the department managers, then down to the workers. Then from the board of directors down to department managers and workers, which is the lateral one. And then upward is the board of from the from the board of directors, department managers, and both workers and department managers. Knowledge, skills, goal orientation, sharing of corporate concerns, review and monitoring performance, appraisal, counselling and training are among the issues that internal communication addresses. When we look at internal communication, do you think within an organisation there's a need for having so much internal communication? Sumit, do you think that
Yeah. Yeah.
internal
Yeah.
communication it informs you, educates you? Do you think there's a need for the workers and the managers to be informed and educated?
Yes. Internal communication serves us by different instructions
Yeah.
and motivations to the workers.
Okay. And do you think within every organization it's needed?
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Why do you think the whole purpose is to engage and to inform employers in a way that
Mm-hmm.
motivates them and maximizes their performance, and obviously gets them to do more work as well, to motivate them and produce more.
And
Then
to
we
make their
have,
interest as well.
yeah, to get them more involved as well. We have the next one, which is external communication. And this, unlike internal communication, external communication flows outward. It addresses people outside the organization, like the prospective customers, competitors, public, press, the media, and the government. External channel can take place in various ways and through different channels. So it could be through letters, notices, brochures, demonstrations, telephone calls, business meetings, press releases, press conferences, audio-visual presentations, publicity, films, product launch, events, and advertisements of all examples of external communication. It's important to note that external agencies or persons targeted through such communication quite often forms an image of impression based on such communication. So they're very necessary that adequate care is making to make it clear, intelligible, and appealing. It is the transfer of exchange of information between a company and, as we mentioned earlier, the external entities such as businesses, the government, and investors. Um, and you would be able to get some sort of feedback, between the customers to see if the product's doing really well. And also, it happens between employers, as we mentioned, and external people. It's also can be done through letters, broadcasting, as we mentioned, and the strategies are there and used by businesses to try and encourage people to, see the product. If there's a product, to try and use the product. Um, I think the whole point of it is trying to increase some sort of brand visibility, to make your brand noticeable out there and to make the market it and advertise it, and to promote any sort of services. So it's literally there for you to sell yourself, and sell your product. So you are there to kind of be able to sell your product to the people outside externally.
Hmm.
It's widely used because it's like an example of external communication would be, for example, a leaflet on or a board advertising Coca-Cola. Example, and the adverts on TV advertising Coca-Cola. What are they trying to do? What is Coca-Cola trying to do by advertising in them ways? Are they trying to
To, to show their products and trying to sell more and more.
Yeah, trying to sell more of their products. And if there's
Yeah.
new flavors added to Coca-Cola, what would they do in that
Hmm.
instance?
They will show
You know,
again and again on screens and having more ads.
yeah. So they try to advertise more of the fact that there's different flavors in Coca-Cola, maybe, the lime or the cherry Coca-Cola. Try to advertise that so more people are going to buy that brand.
Yes.
Then we've got upward communication, and this is used mainly in large organizations, have different hierarchical levels or tiers. Banks, finance companies, insurance businesses, railways, and such other oriented organizations have typically a three-tier or a four-tier structure. The process of communication to be complete and effective should encompass all these levels and tiers. So upward communication is one which moves upward, so from the bottom to the top levels in the hierarchy. Any communication that moves from employees to supervisors, supervisors to managers, and managers to executives, regional manager to a general manager, and so on, may be categorized as upward communication. Similarly, communication from branches to regional offices to zonal offices, and zonal offices to head office is referred to as upward communication. So the employee suggestions, market reports, performance reports, feedback on new products, and requests for facilities or instructions are examples of upward communication in the organizational context. So it's from the employees to the supervisor, and then supervisors to the manager, and then the regional manager. So it goes to the top level. Is there a need for having upward communication?
Yes, if there is no difference between a manager and supervisor, so every person will be a manager and the
Yes.
thing will be.
Yes, true. But when you get an employee to come back and communicate things to you about a brand or a product, then there's a need for having employers feel like they're being recognized. Do you understand? So, you have this upward communication which works well. Then you've got the downward communication, and sometimes this doesn't work well in some organizations. Downward communication moves from top to bottom, For example, the CEO downwards, it travels through senior executives to junior level functionaries, from controlling office to the branch, from the head of the division to the head of the unit. Corporate goals, business priorities, motivational letters, excuse me, work-related instructions, newsletters, letters from the CEO, general managers' desks are all typical examples of downward communication. There may be some communication would move both upward and downward. A typical example of this is a performance budgeting, which is a two-way process. It's a top to bottom as well as bottom to top exercise. Do you understand that, Andy?
No,
Yes.
how it is a which is a two-way
Yes.
process.
So you have the downward communication, and that's from the top to the bottom level. So you'll have the CEO of the company who's at the top level, and he'll work his way down to the bottom level. Whereas the upward communication is from the bottom level up to the top level. Some companies have both.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, okay.
So and
Okay.
sometimes it works. Some companies have both, but sometimes it works better for a company to have a bigger company to have the downward communication, whereas for a smaller company it may be better for them to have an upward communication, or vice versa. It depends on the company itself.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, formal communication is ensuring that a communication is ongoing basis. Organizations develop formal systems, staff meetings, union management meetings, branch meetings, conferences, and periodical sales review meetings. And customers meets are examples of forums that facilitate formal communication. Formal communication generally follows a well-defined hierarchical pattern and periodically. Memos, circulars, instructions, guidelines, clarification, agreements, and reports are some of the channels that facilitate the flow of formal communication in a business organization. So, in a business organization, is there a need for formal communication between in staff meetings and things like that?
Mhm.
Why do you think there's a need for formal communication?
By formal communication, they have no idea.
It's quite formal communication is very common in a kind of educational settings or workplace
Mhm.
settings and business settings. It can be mostly written, but can be oral as well. And it's used quite often in businesses where you have to do business letters, reports. Um, Whereas when we go to the next one, which is informal communication, this is more face to face and telephone conversation. So, informal communication, this type of communication takes place in an unstructured manner and outside the formal forums. So, is formal communication more uh, organized than informal?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yes, it's more organized, and if you're doing a meeting, you'll put it in, your calendar and say this is. Whereas, informal communication takes place in an unstructured manner and outside the formal forums. So there's an element of spontaneity in this communication. Informal communication works well in smaller, loosely knit organizations. So small organizations have informal communication and it works well for them. It is used often in situations where there's no rigid hierarchical tiers. What does that mean? Where there's no hierarchical tiers?
There,
So when we talk about informal communication, we say that it's better works for smaller businesses where there's no hierarchy. So there's no CEO, there's no, there may be a
yes.
manager, but no executives.
Mhm.
So there's not such a large hierarchy. So it works well.
Mhm. Got it.
And while the formal structure of a communication is a must in a large organization, it is the informality that helps sustain goal orientation in small, well-knit units. Informal communications takes place through chats, conversations, informal talks, and like speaking to a person about the weather, or writing an email about the holiday, sending a birthday card, or talking to someone about the grocery shop. This is informal communication. Can informal communication be in the form of gestures as well?
Yes.
Yes, yes, it could.
Yes.
Yes, it could be in the form of gestures, and
Hmm.
it could work well in the form of gestures, but it's mainly used in smaller types of organizations. And there's mainly four types of informal communication. One is gossip chain, cluster chain, probability chain, and single strand chain. So you get advantages of both, informal and formal. And we went through them previously before. And formal is it could be some examples of formal is we had a formal meeting over lunch. He has an all informal manner that puts people at ease. He spoke to them in informal in Spanish. So these are kind of, it's very close knit and very kind of no hierarchical kind of approach.
Hmm.
The next one we've got is lateral communication. And lateral communication generally takes place in an organization that is neither upward nor downward. It proceeds in um, a horizontal manner and takes place among equals and at peer level. It may also be described as peer level communication. Any communication that takes place orally or in writing from one branch head to the other, from one division to the other, from one group head to the other, may be described as lateral communication. An important point worth noting in any such lateral communication is that there's not much difference in terms of hierarchical levels or positions of the sender and the receiver. So lateral communication refers to sharing information, ideas, feelings, or concerns between peers within an organization or co-workers or about the same level regarding their tasks. Um, Lateral communication, as we said, for example, every time your teammate posts about their weekly progress on the project you're working on, and the entire team jumps up to cheer up. So that's lateral communication.
Hmm.
Then we've got interactive communication, which again is interactive communication is essentially a two-way process. A two-way process. It takes balance. It takes place through meetings, conferences, teleconferencing, multimedia presentations, group discussions, and other such active two-way exchanges. Interactive communication is most appropriate when the message or the subject is to be presented at the length. For example, in practical sessions, case studies, discussions, and strategy formulation. When many speakers are involved, there may be a need for a moderator who will facilitate the effective flow of communication from different speakers, and that's referred to as mass communication. So this again is could be things like chat bots, interactive videos, quizzes, uh, calculators, interactive graphics, and like we said, it's feedback with physical and psychological context. Mass communication is the next one. Mass communication is distinctive in view of its scale. Essentially, it addresses a large mass of people. Public speaking, newspapers, magazines and journals, radio, television, dot-coms, etc., are channels of mass communication. Mass communication has developed in a specialized area of study. Each of these areas or channels calls for distinct skills. By its very nature, mass communication addresses a vast amount of people, well spread, the heterogeneous group of people, and as such, special efforts will have to be made to sustain their interest and achieve the desired response. At the government level, there is often a separate ministry or department of mass communication to deal with this functional area. Main branches of study relating to mass communication are public relations, advertising and publicity, journalism, and digital media. Why do you think mass communication is so important in any
It is also
organization?
like a, yeah,
Sorry, what was that?
it is
Why do you
also a
think?
type of, yeah, like
Yes,
the,
sorry. No, it's
the
okay. Sumit, what was you saying? It's also what? It's also a type of what, Sumit?
like a social media, we are going to convey our messages by
Yeah.
different ways, like newspaper, magazines, and like the.
And like, ministers would do it in regards to public relations or,
Mhm.
political campaigning and things like that. And the mass, as it means mass, that means big. It means mass communication, so it's trying to get it to the main part of everyone. So, it's trying to identify it as to all the people. The next one is grapevine, and this is a kind of informal communication that prevails in organizations and businesses. The source of such communication may not be clear, um, and it spreads by way of gossiping and rumors. It travels through informal networks and quite often travels faster than formal messages. Sometimes it gets more powerful and becomes more receptive than formal communication. The prevalence of this type of communication in an organization has to be recognized and accepted. A skilled communicator can derive benefits from such communication as well. It may not always be possible to control the grapevine, but nevertheless, an able communicator knows how to influence it. Like any type of communication, this one has its own merits and demerits. So when we look at these different types of communication, we've got leaflets, we've got letters, we've got articles, we've got books. These are different types of communication. Then we've got the 7 C's of effective communication. We've got completeness, completeness, concreteness, courteous, courtesy, sorry, correctness, clarity, consideration, and conciseness. And these are the 7 C's of effective communication. First one is the clarity. So clarity implies emphasizing on a specific message or a goal at a time rather than trying to achieve too many, too much at one time. Here is where the clear message makes use of exact, appropriate, and concrete words. Then we've got completeness, and this is communication must be complete. It should convey all facts required by the audience. The sender of the message must take into consideration the receiver's mindset and convey the message accordingly. Then we've got conciseness. This conciseness means communicating what is to be conveyed in least possible words without foregoing the other C's of communication. And conciseness is a necessity necessity for effective communication. And then we've got consideration now. Effective communication must take the audience into consideration. For example, the audience's viewpoints, background, mindset, education level. The words in message should be modified to suit the audience's needs while making the message complete. And then we've got concreteness, which is concrete communication implies being particular and clear rather than fuzzy and general, and concrete messages are not misinterpreted. And then you've got makes use of words that are clear and that build the reputation. And then courtesy is the next one. And this is courtesy in message implies the message should show the sender's expression as well as should respect the receiver. The sender of the message should be sincerely polite, studious, reflective, and enthusiastic. And then you've got the final one, which is correctness. And this is to do with correctness in communication, implies that there are no grammatical errors in communication. Correct message has greater impact on the audience and the reader. And when we look at the 7 C's of effective communication, these are important because they help improve your professional and communication skills and increases the chance that your message and what you are trying to say will be understood in exactly the same way as it is intended. So, you know, it's there that the 7 C's are there to make it clear, correct, complete, concrete, concise, considered, and courteous. And this is just to make it the message clear to anyone who's actually reading it. 2.2, analyze the effectiveness of using social media to communicate with customers. So we've got the first one, ancient history, where we had smoke signals by day and fires by night, but used by the ancient people. Historically, this was used peoples of China, Egypt, Greece. First regular postal system established in Iran in 550 BC. And then the beginning of the 18th century to the 19th century, there was the use of telegraph. So 1792, we had the pneumatic post. 1865, we had the telephone. 1890, we had the radio. 1891 were the main highlights of this period. Then we had the new millennium, which was the 21st century. And this is Wikipedia. It was the dawn of the new era, 20th century. So we have extensive use of email, 1966, ARPANET, 1969, listserv, 1986, Usenet, 1979, 6 Degrees, 1977, RC was 1988, Blogger in 1999, etc. marked this period. And then the new millennium, 21st century, people use Wikipedia, which was established in 2001, Friendster, which was 2002, LinkedIn, again another popular one, 2003, Facebook, 2004, YouTube, 2005, Twitter, 2006, Netlog, 2009, Google Plus, 2011, and some of the major features of the 21st century. So we've got, what else have we got new that's quite new? Instagram, TikTok, things like Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. These are kind of new social medias that have been inherited over the 21st century. And do you think every time society is changing, social media, there's more becoming things are becoming more online and social media style?
Yes.
Why do you think that's the case, Sumit? Or Andy, why do you think that's the case?
Hmm. So,
Do you think too many people in society rely on social media for everything now?
yes.
Because you could do your meetings online, couldn't you? On the phone, on social media, you could buy things online.
Yes, of
You can
course.
you can listen to music online. You can chat online. You can do emails. What do you think, Andy? Andy, is Andy still on?
Yes, I think it's more comfortable, much easier.
Yeah, yeah, more easier. Is it safe though, Andy?
Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Time-wise,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
but then it makes
yes.
people more lazy.
Yes, yes, it does.
So
Yes,
certain.
you're right. Totally lazy. You don't want to go out shopping then because you can do it online. You can do everything
Yes,
online.
you can work at home, shop at home.
Yes. And but everyone's becoming more social media, aren't they? A lot of people are becoming more because of their lifestyle, their work, everything is becoming online.
Hmm.
Even to open a bank account now, I think you could do it online. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
a lot of the businesses are working that way as well. And it's beneficial for businesses. There's pros and cons for both because for businesses, sometimes, it's cheap labor, isn't it? You can work from anywhere in the country.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, sometimes it's a good thing, like you said, sometimes it's a bad thing. There's that new software being introduced. Is it AI? Have you heard of it?
Ah, yes, of course.
Yeah, and that's
That's
causing a lot
ChatGPT.
of yeah, that's causing a lot of controversy at the moment as well, whether it's good to have it or not. So uses of social media, so the percentage of respondents on the use of different social media. So social networking, 25%, wikis, 16%, video sharing, 13%, microblogging, 12.5%, blogs, 11.5%, 9% of social news and bookkeeping, photo sharing, 5%, podcasts, 4.5%, and 3.5% in RSS. And then you've got things like interactive medium, which is 26%, which is quite a high one. Source of information, 19%. Bridges gap, 17.5%, sharing of ideas 16%, customer interaction 10.5%, a crisis to 6%, and then 5% on the other one. The social networks have benefited the marketeers by enabling them to make their marketing strategies as very low cost. Through social networks, the company can increase product and brand awareness. Marketing on social networking sites increase awareness by increasing the online presence of products and brand. When the company creates a group or organizes a promotion on a social networking site, the members are reminded of the brand and website with every interaction. By liking the brand page, the information about the brand is usually positively received. So the next one is to increase links to the websites of brand. Communication recommendations and other postings on social networking sites often contain web links. If the company is mentioned and a link is scheduled, these postings lead to the specific site, increasing brand and product awareness. Due to the makeup of social networking sites, these links are naturally targeted to potential customers that are interested in the company products or services. Increase customer loyalty. Promoting the company or products by building a social network can greatly enhance customer loyalty if it creates positive vibes. If participation of the company is consistent and honest, adds value by supplying useful content and appears personal, it will be greatly enhance company's reputation while building trust and credibility. Offer help first and promote products only when asked and when appropriate. Otherwise, attempts to promote products could be considered spam. Increase the probability of success in the launching of new products. So social networkings enable the relevant community to conduct survey on their products, wants and needs. The community can constantly guide and participate in the product development process, giving them a voice in the process can increase loyalty and guarantee success when a new product is launched. Users of social networking sites create their profile by filling in their vital information on joining a network. These profiles help the user connect with others who share similar interests and activities. The profiles contain not only basic information about the user, but also information on their education, areas of technical expertise, publications, memberships in other groups, geographical location, and job position, among other information. Marketers can use this information as it can be used to develop high targeted marketing messages. 2.3 Assess the images of organizations portrayed through their communicators. The method for communication in any given organization shows its working within its organization and its efficiency. If the internal communication does not happen to be working properly, the firm in question might face inefficiency and hurdles. If the communication externally suffers distortion, it may create differences in the organization and the consumers. Since the competition is rising, the firm tries hard at presenting itself in the best light via each communication medium. If we compare the firm with other firms, the company seems to have a growth potential, yet as a result of inferior skills for communication, operations are negatively effective, which results in employees and consumers getting dissatisfied. Corporate image. Corporate image or reputation describes the manner in which a company's activities and its products or services are perceived by outsiders. A company that mismanages or ignores its image is likely to encounter a variety of problems. Reputation problems grow like weeds in a garden. Davis Young in his book Building Your Company's Good Name, direct and indirect costs escalate geometrically. Why is it important to have a good corporate image? Why do you think it's so good to have a corporate image? A good corporate image, sorry. What do you think, why do you think you need a good corporate image? Why do you need a good, description of your business?
The customer will have a trust,
Yeah,
and
and also your image will be always there. People will remember your image,
yes.
and example again, Coca-Cola. How
Hmm.
do manage company reputation? Listen to customer feedback. It's so important in any company to listen to your customer feedback. Build your employer brand. Engage in community outreach. Plan for crisis and focus on customer experience. What is company ethos? For potential clients and prospective employees, they paint a picture of organization's ethos. For existing employees, they help to share a business, keep staff accountable, and support company culture. What is organizational vision and mission? A mission statement defines the company's business, its objectives, and its approach to reach those objectives. A vision statement describes the desired future position of the company. Elements of the mission and vision statements are often combined to provide a statement of the company's purposes, goals, and values. What is an example of a vision statement? For example, IKEA is a big company and it's there to create a better everyday life for many people. The folks at IKEA dream big. The vision-based mission statement could have been one of beautiful, affordable furniture, but instead it makes it everyday life better for its customers. So, these kind of companies will try and attract customers, but also try to, make it a vision for customers to remember the statement, what their values are, what their statement is. And, IKEA, again, is a big company that's there to attract all its customers and try to, bring in more customers and create a better, like it says, better, it's creating something better for its customers. So it's trying to attract the customers, but also say that a lot of their furniture is affordable. So some of the references are here that you could look at. There's also a link there that you could look at for next week in your own time. There's resources and sources here on communication skills and networking and social media. Have you, we finished the session for now, but has anyone got any questions?
No.
No.
Andy, no? Sumit?
No.
Okay,
No.
so what we're doing now is we will do the next session on learning outcome 3 and learning outcome 4, which is next Friday and Saturday. Is that okay? And these
Yeah.
slides and everything are available for you on Moodle. So if you go onto Moodle, all the resources and the recording, and please, there's additional things for you to read on there. But also go onto that link, their management study link, and have a look at the different forms of communication and how they help a business as well. Because when we look at the different types of communications, do they work for every business? Does the same kind of communication work for every business, or do different communications work for different businesses?
No. Can work.
What do you
Can
think?
work
Do you
in
think what? Sorry, what was that, Sumit?
can work in every business.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
some can work better in smaller businesses, and some can work better in bigger businesses, and then some
Hmm.
can both for bigger and and
And small.
informal and formal can work both for one big company. So it does identify what kind of company is for the communication to work. But communication in any company is so important.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so if is there any more questions or anything? So please go
No.
on to Moodle, do the background reading, additional reading, and I will see you next Friday. That okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then
Yes,
I'll
thank
see
you.
you next week.
Okay.
Bye,
Thank
Andy.
you.
Bye.
Thank
I'll
you.
see you next
Bye.
week. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.